Hello BookTube, my name's Ted and this is the Speculative Bookshelf where I talk about science fiction, science fantasy, fantasy, horror, weird fiction, that kind of thing. So I thought I'd give AI a test, see how it is. I wanted to see what happens if I give it 5 books I liked and then ask it to choose my next read based on those 5 books. It took me 2 tries actually, because the first prompt I came up with, I gave it 5 books and said, suggest another book for me. And that was on ChatGPT, and instead of a book, it gave me 4 books saying, since you like Ray Bradbury, read this. Since you liked Heinlein, try this. I didn't want that. I wanted to take all of the decision making away from me. Just give me one book to read, what you think is best. So I tweaked my prompt and I went to another GPT. I went to Claude, because I didn't want to use ChatGPT where it might remember my previous response and work off of that. So here's the prompt I used. Given the following 5 science fiction books I enjoyed, suggest one book to read next. And that's where I made the mistake previously. I just said suggest a book. This time I had to say suggest one book. So the 5 books were Ray Bradbury's The Martian Chronicles, Robert A. Heinlein, Stranger in a Strange Land, Walter M. Miller Jr., A Canticle for Leibowitz, Alistair Reynolds, The Thousandth Night, and Andy Weir, The Martian. I put all that into Claude, let him digest it, and this is what he regurgitated. Based on your excellent taste in thoughtful literary science fiction with strong themes, see, Roger, if you're listening, I have taste. I'd recommend The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. Here's why it fits perfectly with what you've enjoyed. Like The Martian Chronicles and Stranger, it's a deeply philosophical explanation of what it means to be human, wrapped in the trappings of alien worlds. And going on, it says, the book shares Canticle's literary quality and contemplative pacing. It's more interested in ideas and atmosphere than action. While it's different from the hard science fiction problem solving of The Martian or the space opera scope of Reynolds, it offers the same satisfaction of encountering a fully realized, internally consistent world. So I like that suggestion. I have read one other Ursula K. Le Guin, The Lathe of Heaven, and since I've been meaning to read some more of hers, I thought this was an excellent choice. So I went online, got me a copy of it, and sat down to read it.
One minute, 37 seconds later.
Well, that was quite a read. I really enjoyed that. So let me tell you about it. The Left Hand of Darkness is a novel that takes place in Ursula K. Le Guin's Hainish universe. That is a universe where the planet Hain is the main, it's actually a stand-in for Earth. Le Guin wrote 7 novels within the Hainish universe, including her follow-up classic, The Dispossessed, and the word for world is forest. But it does not include the previous book I read by Le Guin, The Lathe of Heaven. Left Hand of Darkness is the 4th book in what's called the Hainish cycle. You don't have to read them in any certain order. They're not connected in any way other than sharing similar settings and themes. Each one is its own standalone novel. I'll give you a little screen text here explaining who's who so you can follow along with the plot as I explain it. Genli I is the main character from Hain, who is an emissary to the planet Gethin. The planet Hain belongs to a sort of united federation of planets called the Ecumen Collective. And he's been sent as an emissary all alone to the planet Gethin to try to convince him to join the ecumen. And then the other major character is Estraven. And Estraven is Genli Ai's liaison. Genli wants to get an audience with the king. He's been on the planet for over a year now, and he still hasn't gotten to the king. This planet, Gethin, is also called Winter because it's got a perpetual, global, harsh, severe winter climate. And there's two major nations on the planet. One is Karhide, who is ruled by a king, and the other one is Orgorain, which has more of a sort of a representative government. Now, all the people on this planet, regardless of nation, are all non-sexual or androgynous creatures or humanoids. Most of their life is spent just as a non-gendered person with no sexual organs evident of either sex, except for a few days each month when they go through a period called Kemer, in which asexual gender, one or the other, expresses itself, and then they become either a man or a woman, and then they pair off with a partner and do their thing. At the end of the 3 days or so that they're in Kemer, they go back to being genderless again. Now, as I said, Genli Ai has been working with Estraven to get an audience with the king, but it seems that a political rival of Estraven has put a bug in the king's ear, saying that Estraven has been a traitor to the king. And the king then banishes him and gives him a 3-day head start to get his butt out of the country, or else. He has to abandon Genli Ai, explaining that he doesn't want to be with him anymore because that would jeopardize his mission with the king to still be associated with him. And so Estraven just goes off to the neighboring nation of Orgorain. Meanwhile, Genli gets his audience with the king, and he's unable to convince the king to join the ecumen. So Genli decides to go off to Orgorain himself, talk to them, see if he can convince them, and then, work on Karhide again later. However, things go sideways for Genli and Orgorain, and he's put in the prison. And just to keep it short, he and Estraven find themselves together again, and Estraven pairs up with Genli Ai to take Genli back to Karhide without Estraven, getting caught himself. And it's hundreds and hundreds of miles of treacherous, icy winter landscape that they have to traverse to get back to Karhide. And it's during this time when the major issues and themes of the novel really work themselves out. The book is told in several different points of view, from Genli's point of view, Estraven, and from some chapters give some old folklore, and then another chapter gives a report from a previous Hainish mission. So when Genli's speaking, he admits that he's always had trouble seeing the Gathenians through their own eyes as truly androgynous people. Genli, all he can see them as men. Strange men, but men. And even Ursula K. Le Guin keeps using the pronoun he, and which she later regretted. She said she should have, come up with something to express, a non-gendered pronoun. But it's because of his inability to accept them, and the Gathenians can't accept him either, for that matter. They view him, this this permanently single-gendered person. He's a freak, he's a pervert. But it's Genly's inability to to process this concept of these non-gendered people that are just one gender or another, a couple of days a month, and the cognitive dissonance that it just creates in him, that he never fully trusts Estraven. But as Estraven points out, Estraven has been completely loyal to Genly, yet Genly continues to distrust him. And it's these themes of duality and contrast that constantly appear throughout the novel. Starting with the title of the novel, The Left Hand of Darkness, that comes from an old Gathenian poem, which states that light is the left hand of darkness and darkness is the right hand of light. And so we see this yin-yang type of concept throughout the story, in exploring male and female, acceptance and intolerance, suspicion and trust, loyalty and betrayal. The novel explores all these ideas of anxiety and prejudice that arises when encountering radical differences. Like I said, I really enjoyed the book, and I liked the way it was written, how she used the multiple points of view, giving first-person accounts by each of the main characters. For Genly, of course, he's writing a report to his superiors, while Estraven's first-person account is taken from a journal that he kept while he was dealing with Genly I. So these alternating points of view allow us to see the internal struggles faced by each of the characters, and highlights the importance of obtaining multiple perspectives in trying to understand difficult concepts. Published in 1969, The Left Hand of Darkness stands squarely in the new wave science fiction movement that is considered to have begun in 1963, when Michael Moorcock took over as editor of the British science fiction magazine New Worlds. And much like Stranger in a Strange Land, which actually came out in 1961, which is a forerunner of the New Wave movement, Left Hand of Darkness dwells less on science and technology and more on psychological themes and social commentary. The novel won the 1969 Nebula Award and the 1970 Hugo Award for Best Novel. And if you wonder why each award is from a different year, it's just the way they name each organization names the award. The Nebula Award is handed out in May, and it considers all of the novels published in the previous year, 1969, and the designation of the award is for the year in which the books were published, whereas the Hugo happens late in the year, July, August, and though it still considers only the books published in the previous year, the award is designated for the year in which it was awarded. So to wrap it up, like I said, I enjoyed this book. This was excellent, and when I got done, I went out and I went back online and picked up The Dispossessed, which I'll be anxious to read next. But will I use AI chat to recommend another read for me? Probably not. This was just a one-time experiment done out of curiosity to see how well its suggestion could align with my own interests. However, I'm too much of a spur-of-the-moment reader. Whenever I'm ready to pick up a new book, it's just whatever I'm feeling at that time. Whatever I'm anxious to get into, whatever I just got reminded of this morning, or whatever. However, I do wonder if I should try it one more time and give it 5 books that I really hated and see if it could come up with a book that I would hate. I might have to try that. But until then, thanks for joining me. This is Ted, and I will see you next time. Until then, happy reading.